And as the candidates prepare, here's the latest on the election landscape. A Washington Post ABC News poll out today has Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump in a complete dead heat, each with 46% among registered voters. For more on Monday's debate and what's to come before November 8th, I'm joined by CBSN political contributor and Republican strategist Leslie Sanchez, Democratic strategist Liz Smith, and CBS News senior political editor Steve Chaggaris. They're all out at Hofstra. Looking good, folks. Looking good out there in the open air. Steve, I want to ask you first, with both the candidates tied in the polls, how much is really riding on this debate at this point?
Well, a ton. I mean, we're talking about, the two most unpopular candidates, at least in modern presidential history. You're talking about two people who have an opportunity to showcase themselves to the American people, to a large number of American people. I mean, some estimates are 80 to 100 million people will be watching on Monday night.
But are they convincible voters, Steve? Can this really make a difference in people who are undecided at this point?
Well, here's what's different. It's not just the undecided voters. It's just that voters in general on both sides have many, many doubts about both of these candidates. And so this is an opportunity for both Trump and Clinton to try to allay some of the fears that these voters have and to try to either solidify their own support or try to sway some voters. I mean, whatever issue it is, whether it's Hillary Clinton and honesty and trustworthy, or whether it's Donald Trump and his temperament and readiness to be president, there are some major issues both of these candidates have to deal with, and this is a real opportunity to speak to, as I said, a huge number of people, the most people who will be watching any of the events of this campaign season.
Leslie, we know Donald Trump hasn't polled well with women in general, but what are the complexities when it comes to debating a woman? What does he have to watch out for?
Sure. I think there's some historical precedents, particularly when you're debating Hillary Clinton. Remember in her Senate campaign, some of the aggressive nature of Rick Glasgow, who went over and tried to touch her, went across the stage. There are gaps, but the truth be known, at this point, we know where a lot of those missteps come from. We know from crowding individual space. George W. Bush had the same issue with Al Gore. So there's some tried and true issues that these candidates are prepared for. But with the context, I think one thing that is really important, and the takeaway, Kellyanne Conway, who is the new campaign manager, has made a pivotal difference, not only in keeping this candidate on message, but actually helping close that gap with women, particularly suburban women. It does not mean that these Republican women are going to step in line and that there is not going to be the defect in terms of people supporting Hillary Clinton, but that gap has tightened, and a lot of that has to do with her impact.
Liz, a lot of times Hillary Clinton on the debate stage comes off by her critics saying that she's a bit wooden. What does she have to watch out for in this debate?
Well, look, I think Secretary Clinton has to do a lot in this debate. Number one, she has to address the trust issue head on. New polling out today shows that voters find her less trustworthy than Donald Trump. And so that's where she stumbled in a lot of prior debates. I think she also needs to make a really strong affirmative case for her candidacy. We've seen that the Obama coalition is not as enthused and engaged this time around. And so she really needs to make the case for why they should turn out for her, like they turned out for Barack Obama in 2008 and 2012. And then, going back to Donald Trump, I think it's important for her to expose him and show that he is temperamentally unfit to be president. And I think she will have a lot of opportunities to do that tomorrow night.
We know, Steve, that Hillary Clinton's been preparing for a long time for these debates. I want to ask you, what are the curveballs that Hillary Clinton has to worry about there? I'm told that she's preparing for two different Donald Trumps to show up.
Maybe more than two. I mean, seriously, this is a guy who has shown a lot of different sides to his personality, not just in the debates that he had with the other Republicans, but even on the campaign trail in the last couple of months. Does he show up to this debate on Monday with this sort of measured, presidential demeanor that he's been showing more often than not in the last few weeks, or does he show up with the shoot from the hip, potentially offensive, insulting, bullying Donald Trump that he flashed during the GOP presidential debates? They don't know. We don't know. That's part of the fun of watching this tomorrow night. But they have to prepare for everything. And likewise for Donald Trump. I mean, he's got some preparation to do in terms of her as well, because she has shown in some of her past debates that she can get under the skin of whether it's Barack Obama in 2008 or Bernie Sanders this year. She has the ability to do that with her opponents. So there's a lot of prepping going on. I think it's a little bit more standard prepping on her part than his. His is definitely not the standard kind of prepping that presidential candidates do. But we'll see how all this preparation plays out Monday night.
Leslie, a lot of people, a lot of political insiders from the very beginning have underestimated Donald Trump, but he's made it past 16 experienced Republican candidates. He's also a master at reality television. So what does Hillary Clinton need to watch out for when it comes to Donald Trump?
That he's unpredictable. And I think that's very much to Steve's point. It's hard to anticipate, especially when you have a candidate who has not served in public office. That's extraordinarily rare. You have probably a little over 24 going back over 100 years that have not been individuals who've ascended to this level that came with no public service experience. So,
and by the way, none who've participated in one of these debates.
None that's participated in the debates. He has a kind of freewheeling style, if we want to call it that. But what's interesting, it's very strategic. He knows how to get under the skin. He's going to look for flaws in that. And the issue with Hillary Clinton, and I think Liz speaks to that, she's not likable. And that's the bottom line. So many people know about the Clintons. They expect a lot more kind of scandal if the Clintons were in office, just another bunch of headaches that they had back in the 90s. He's going to remind people of that. He's going to say that it is the outsider versus the establishment insider. And I think that's what's the juxtaposition with these two. The first 30 minutes of this debate, though, are the most critical. That's when people are going to decide, really, it's going to solidify what their thinking is of these candidates independently.
I completely agree. And just, Rena, 1 second. I completely agree with that people do make up their minds in the first 30 minutes. But to your point about Hillary Clinton and her likability, we've seen a real effort on her campaign's part the last couple weeks. They've been putting up ads telling her story, and she's been trying to hold events, surrounded by children, kind of to soften her image and tell the story and not make it just about attacking Donald Trump. So I expect to see more of that on stage tomorrow night.
And Steve, we've heard that the Republican candidate Donald Trump might be inviting ex-model Jennifer Flowers to sit down and take a front row. Flowers, of course, long rumored to have had an extramarital affair with Bill Clinton. We've also heard she might not be showing up. So why even put that out there?
Well, first of all, Hillary Clinton invited Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, who's a supporter of Clinton, to sit in the front row using one of her tickets. And then he went on Twitter to basically taunt Donald Trump. And so in retaliation, Trump invited Jennifer Flowers. Mike Pence said today, and Kellyanne Conway, Trump's campaign manager, said she's not actually going to show up on Monday night. But, this is sort of his way of getting back at Hillary Clinton and Mark Cuban for doing this. Again, this is a different year we're experiencing with Donald Trump. We're dealing with issues such as Mark Cuban versus Jennifer Flowers, as opposed to other issues that I think the American people want to hear about. And that, again, makes it fun for those of us who cover these things every 4 years because it's completely different. But voters have expressed that they find this campaign to be the most negative they've seen in recent elections. And so this is the kind of thing that sort of plays into that.
And before I let you guys go, I want to start with Leslie and just go around the horn to tell me what you anticipate to expect come Monday night at the debates. Leslie.
This is an issue of endurance. I think the style at the beginning may not necessarily be the disciplined style you see at the end. So people are going to want to watch the whole debate.
Liz.
I would say expect the unexpected. Anyone who tells you that they know what's going to happen tomorrow is lying.
Yeah, I mean, every motion, every body movement, every word is going to be overly scrutinized. We'll see what the audience thinks at the end of this. And I think what we think about it at the end is likely going to be somewhat different than what voters think. And that's one thing to look for after the debate.
Okay, Liz Smith, Steve Chaggaris, and Leslie Sanchez, thank you all so much.